I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today.
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted, and then you get a pay cut with it. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So I know Representative O'Neill has that experience having owned a business, and so I think she was speaking to that.
That is a ridiculous question, and I
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack, which is not a question.
Look, I've seen some super awkward moments in the halls of Congress, but what we're about to watch today is on a whole new level of, I really don't know what I'm talking about. We've got Representative Ilhan Omar, a woman whose own past is, let's just say, pretty colorful, trying to take down two people who actually understand how the world works. First, she tries to act all moral with Elliott Abrams, a man who has forgotten more about foreign policy than she will probably ever learn. Then she tries to lecture a whole room full of business owners about how to pay their workers, even though she clearly has never even run a lemonade stand, let alone a company worth millions of dollars. The confidence is unbelievable. You've got a congresswoman who has dealt with her own ethics investigations and anti-Semitism scandals, acting like she's the top moral judge of the United States. It's almost funny. She's not even in a place to question the honesty of a sandwich, let alone these experts. Let's jump into the first clip where she tries to trap Abrams with a gotcha question and ends up looking like a middle school kid in debate club.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your testimonies. Mr. Adams, in 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, for which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush. I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question.
That
was not a question. I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
on February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question. Thank you for your participation. On February 8th, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S.-trained troops. During that massacre, some of those troops bragged about raping a 12-year-old girl before they killed them. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
Yes or no, do you think that massacre was a fabulous achievement that happened under our watch?
That is a ridiculous question, and
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack, which is not a question.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide, if you believe they were serving U.S. interest, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I am not going to respond to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
Whether under your watch, a genocide will take place, and you will look the other way because American interests were being upheld, is a fair question, because the American people want to know that anytime we engage a country, that we think about what our actions could be and how we believe our values are being furthered. That is my question. Will you make sure that human rights are not violated and that we uphold international and human rights?
I suppose there is a question in there, and the answer is that the entire thrust of American policy in Venezuela is to support the Venezuelan people's effort to restore democracy to their country. That's our policy.
I don't think anybody disputes that. The question I had for you is that does the interest of the United States include protecting human rights and include protecting people against genocide?
That is always the position of the United States.
Thank you.
She brings up things from 35 years ago, old cases that were already settled and pardoned, just to try and tear down the current policy on Venezuela. It's a complete smear move. Elliot Abrams is a statesman. He's looking at her like, "Are you serious right now?" And notice how she doesn't really want an answer. She asks a question. He starts to explain the complicated details of a civil war from the 80s. And she cuts him off. It wasn't really a question. It was more like a speech. So why are you even there, Ilhan? If you just want to hear your own voice, go start a podcast. Don't waste taxpayers' time in a hearing where people are trying to actually help the citizens of Venezuela. Abrams handled it with total class, pointing out how silly her made-up scenarios were. He knows she's not there to find the truth. She's there to get a Twitter clip. But wait, it gets even better or worse depending on how much you care about your brain cells. Watch this next clip. She moves from foreign policy where she already struggled to labor law. She asks a business owner why anyone would ever lower an employee's pay. I mean, is she being serious?
Thank you, Chair. Representative O'Neill, I'm just wondering, as a union member for a long time, and I've also gotten an opportunity to work in the private sector, and I'm curious to know if you know of any employer that has a provision where they decrease pay for employees. I find that a little strange, and so I just wanted to know where that thought comes from, and if you know where an employee gets their pay decreased.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I was a business owner. I recently sold my share, so I don't own it anymore, but there are plenty of businesses out there, especially those that depend on employees' productivity, like I was in the trades. So I owned a company that was a tile setting company, and if we didn't get out there and do the work, and if I didn't have highly productive employees, they were paid based on their productivity. So if they had issues, it is very possible that their pay would reflect those issues. If they were on probation for something, for some sort of violation, that could be coordinated with a pay reduction. It's something that businesses do all the time, and it could be the step before someone is actually fired. So it's an important thing, and it gets people's attention, when they see it in their paycheck that their performance does not meet the standard.
Representative Omar.
Hudson, I think, did you have something?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Hudson. Was there a question for Mr. Hudson?
No, I think he was saying that he wanted to add something, so I didn't know if he had something to add.
Mr. Hudson, is there a response to the question? Do you have a response to that question?
Madam Chair, yes, ma'am.
Saying that you aren't aware of any businesses that decrease pay?
Because that was the question.
Madam Chair, I think what Chair O'Neill perhaps could be referring to, there are some instances where the pay structure is different. So for an example, she had indicated that she had come out of the towel industry. I'm not sure if these were commissioned employees who may have been on like an 80-20 split, In that instance, there is a situation where a pay might be reduced. Or if we have a supervisor who perhaps had a performance improvement issue or a behavioral concern, and we demoted this supervisor, that is an instance where pay might be decreased. But just an employee who has not been under some sort of performance improvement program having their pay reduced, I've never heard of that.
Well, Mr. Hudson, I think Representative Neal knows exactly what she says. And I think we've had a little conversation back here when the question was asked. I know Representative Uglem, do you want to speak to that point?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Omar, if you happen to be a salesman in this world, and you can be selling cars, you could be selling siding, you could be selling just about anything, and you are paid on commission. So if you don't sell anything, you don't make anything. So you can have good years, you can have bad years. Probably really one of the best examples is a real estate agent. So it's the idea that people can make less money year to year, not to mention all the bonus situations that are out there in industry. It happens. It happens a lot. It doesn't necessarily happen, here in the public sector, but it's pervasive and very, very common in the private sector. Thank you.
And I'd like to add that in the private sector as well, people, if they are not performing at their job, get demoted, and with that demotion comes a pay cut. And that's not even related to being in a commission position, that's just in a regular position as well. Representative Omar.
I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today.
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted, and then you get a pay cut with it. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So I know Representative O'Neill has that experience having owned a business, and so I think she was speaking to that.
Did you see the looks on the faces of those business owners? They had to explain to a United States representative how commission pay works. They had to explain that if you don't sell anything, you don't earn as much money. They had to explain that if you get demoted because you're not good at your job, your paycheck changes too. This is super basic economics 101 stuff. And she's sitting there with this smug smile like she just discovered a huge secret plan to steal from people. Bo Ilhan. It's called earning what you deserve. It's called the private sector. It's how the real world works outside of government support. She tries to step back and say, oh, commission is different. Oh, it isn't. The idea is the same. You get paid for the value you bring. If you bring less value, you get less money. The fact that she thinks this is strange tells you everything about how she sees the world. She wants everyone to get a prize and a paycheck, even if they don't actually show up and do the work. At the end of the day, Ilhan Omar is in over her head. Whether it's serious foreign policy history or the simple basics of how a tile business runs, she shows again and again that she cares more about being a squad celebrity than being a serious lawmaker. Elliott Abrams and those business owners didn't just respond to her questions. They showed that she probably shouldn't have been asking them at all. But hey, that's just what I think. What do you all think? Is she the most out-of-touch person in DC, or is there just a lot of competition? Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're tired of all this nonsense.